What is up? Yo, yo. Ah. All right. What up? What up? Are you serious? Oh my god, which one is which now? I don't know which one is which. It's got to be this one. This one says phosphates and green hair algae, and it's got like a control bar on it. All right, hold on. This is like... That's the only one that's... I have no idea what's going on with this. If that doesn't work, I don't know what to do.
Hey, hey.
Oh, what's going on, man? Wow, the 18th time is a charm, right?
I'm not even sure I even want to be in here anymore after all that.
Yeah, it's not worth it. I should just shut the stream down immediately.
Kill it. How's it going?
Good, man. Good.
Yeah.
I'm super stoked that the hair algae issue that I had is no longer there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous.
Yeah, man. Well, it almost killed me having to keep my my tank offline for that long, not being able to look at stuff. But
Did you wrap it with something?
no, it's actually it's in my basement, so there's really no light that gets down there anyway. Um, I after everything was done, I figured what I could have done was, because it's actually where my home theater projector screen is I could have just dropped the screen and it would have been completely blacked out, but I didn't even do that.
So you did that for 3 days, and you killed everything?
Yeah. Well, so there's a couple things that happened as a result of that. So I mean, I think that was one piece of like the whole puzzle. Like I scrubbed the rock, but really not that well, honestly. And I added a Phosphates, which was munching the crap out of some algae, and then I added probably about 20 to 25 hermits and snails and stuff. And then when I added all that stuff is when I shut everything down.
Okay. Yeah.
And that just it kind of it just kind of took care of it. I mean, I turned the stuff on for like, maybe an hour or two a day when I was feeding, and just to like make sure that everything was all right, the Phosphates wasn't dead and stuff like that. But everything seemed to be okay.
Very cool. I tried the blackout. I went on vacation. I was gone for like 10 days, but I didn't fully like black the tank out. I just kind of left it in a room where there's a little bit of daylight can get in through the curtains. I mean, it's not completely blackout curtains,
Yeah.
And I came back and it wasn't still there.
Oh, really?
Like I left it off for 10 days, no lights.
10 days. Oh
yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'm trying this stupid hydrogen peroxide that everyone says it's either you do it or you don't do it. It's so bipolar on this subject.
Yeah, well, that's what Dev was telling me to do, was try to take like a rock out and like almost like completely drop it into the hydrogen peroxide and then put it back in. But I never actually did that.
I wish I could do that. My rocks are too big. Like it's dismantling. Like I'd have to take the canopy off to make room to even get them out.
Gotcha.
But I'm kind of hopeful on the hydrogen peroxide, because even the weak stuff you can just get at like the drugstore seems to be doing something if you stick with it. So I tried it for a few days and then I had to leave. But I've got this really strong stuff, 10 times stronger if I do the math right. Yeah, 35%. So.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. I mean, are there any, like, what's the negative? Are there any negatives to the hydrogen peroxide? I mean, I know you're not supposed to use over a certain amount, but has it had any effect on your corals or anything like that?
So pretty much the only thing. So to be clear, I don't have any SPS in there right now. It's all in another tank.
Oh, gotcha.
I've got a large, like 11 head hammer. And a fairly large toadstool that's like one of those green toadstools. So those are really the only two corals I have in there. I have an anemone in there as well. None of those have cared so far.
That's good. That's good.
And I've got an apex, and when I do it, I can see the pH go down a little bit, but nothing to where it just doesn't bounce right back.
That's good. Well, then, it sounds like it's not, and it sounds like it's not really affecting much of anything. But have you noticed the hair algae shriveling up at all?
It does a little bit, yeah. It seems to get weaker and smaller, and I probably should go in there and try to do something manual, but I'm just so like over that.
Yeah, that's a huge pain. I mean, one thing. Okay, so I had a huge green hair algae issue in my BioCube, and of course, it's a little bit easier to deal with, stuff. And I mean, it was so thick that I was able to go in there and pull clumps of it out, and I was doing water changes and all this other stuff, and it really then I was having cyno issues, and the thing that I ultimately ended up doing was I put ChemiClean in there for the cyanobacteria, and it pretty much destroyed the green hair algae too. And then right after that, I I didn't have a protein skimmer. I don't have a protein skimmer on the BioCube that was running at the time. So what I did was I added an air stone to kind of act as like a degasser. Yeah. And I just ran the air stone for like 48 hours and did the water change. And I mean, there was still hair algae in there, but right after that, I put in some new fresh GFO and carbon, and I have had no algae at all.
Interesting.
Ever since, yeah.
So one thing that I've noticed, which I think is really weird, is so I've got a sump with a refugium in it, and it's got one of those purple lights on it. A pretty powerful purple light. One of the Kessels. Yeah. And during a long time ago, I was growing Chaeto decently, and then I'd use some GFO, and the Chaeto died down. And now I'm trying to grow some more. But it's growing more of this like really floaty, foamy, hairy stuff that just kind of gets on the surface of the water. And so I keep pulling that out daily, hoping that it's growing more stuff down there. It's obviously growing more stuff down there. It's just not nice looking stuff.
Yeah.
It's really funky, like surface swampy looking algae.
Right.
So I don't know what that's all about.
Huh. I'm trying to think of, I just had some of that. What that might be is it might be die off of the green hair algae that's floating.
I hope
because
so.
I just had some of that just not that long ago, and it was I think that's exactly what it was. It was kind of like just floating stuff. I just ended up throwing it out. But the other thing that I did was I added new macroalgae, and specifically the stuff I got from Algae Barn. This it's like sea lettuce or something like that. And that stuff has exploded. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's outcompeting the hair algae and the Chaeto now in my fuge, which, if that's the case, that's the first thing I've ever seen outcompete Chaeto.
Nice.
So, and it's just like you get like, like a little, I think it was like $15. I got like a little container of it. And I just rubber band.
What's the name of it again?
I'm pretty sure it's sea lettuce, but let me just
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Ulva or something like that.
Let me see.
It's got a funny name.
Well, I got some of that Ogo stuff. That's red, but that's not doing so well, I think, because this other stuff is just cleaning it out so bad. So let me see. It's called it's called clean sea lettuce. Yeah, Ulva lactuca.
Nice.
And it literally just looks like lettuce, but it grows at a ridiculous clip. So I'll keep everybody updated and see. I mean, if that continues to keep growing. The big thing was I was taking Chaeto out because green hair algae was growing and taking over the Chaeto, and like Chaeto has like a natural ability to fend off things growing on it. So I knew once the green hair algae started growing on it, it was gonna eventually strangle it out. So I added some new. I cut as much of it back as I could, but every single time I did it, I just reduced the amount of Chaeto I had in there. So it just kind of created a snowball effect for my phosphates.
Yeah, so I'm having a hard time keeping mine growing as well. I think it's just like it floats to the surface and then it gets kind of burnt. Whatever's in there is causing it to float up. So I try to tie it down, like put a rubber band into a rock or something.
Yeah, I was having issues I mean, my thing was I was trying so hard to keep the green hair algae from growing on it that I was like, okay, what do I need to do? Do I need more flow? So I added a power head. I was like, it's spinning, but it's kind of not spinning. It's I just couldn't. It's like I was trying to control something that wasn't able to be controlled. So I finally just threw in the towel and said, okay, I'm just gonna let it do whatever it does. I'm gonna try to get something in there that outcompetes it for the time being. So the green hair algae has something else to try to attach to, and it's so far it seems to be working.
Yeah, that sounds like a very similar attitude to mine right now. I just kind of gave up on trying to like change it to make it work with that. So just letting whatever happens in there happen.
Right.
It does have like a Miracle Mud substrate, and then I just recently put some pond matrix on top of that Miracle Mud, just trying to like improve the environment a little bit.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, that was all relatively recently, like within the last week, so I don't expect anything for a couple months.
Yeah, especially, I mean, the one thing that I did do when I did the blackout was I really like increased the amount of time that my refugium light was on. Like
okay.
because I was really, my thought process was I want the stuff in the refugium to explode, whatever it is. You know, even if it's green hair algae, I just want it to grow in the refugium where I can kind of control it a little bit better than in the tank. And so I was running it for probably at least somewhere between 18 and 20 hours, I think.
Okay, wow, that's way different than what I've been doing.
Yeah. So well, you have a Kessel too, right? So I mean, that's a lot of strong light.
Yeah, So I had a long time ago. I was running it a lot of hours, right? And at the same time, I had added GFO and carbon in a dual reactor, and then I had really good Chaeto, and it died out. So I'm like, it looked kind of like I burned it, but I didn't really put two and two together that it was probably just the GFO that killed it. Anyway, so I kind of went down to a lower frequency on the lights, and I started at like 6 hours, and I'm up to probably like 12 or 13 now. But that's a good idea. I forgot, like, I got scared off of that, but it might be worth, now that I'm all in on this fuge, just kind of blasting it for longer.
Yeah, because that's, I mean, it really. Oh, Murphy joined. What's up, Murph? How you doing, man?
What's up, you crazy mother truckers?
Hey, man, I didn't see I had my phone in my pocket. I'm trying to check out at this suburban Tennessee Costco here. It's living the good life, you know.
I was trying not to interrupt you guys.
Yeah, no worries, man. I mean, we're just talking about the good old phosphates. You had any issues with them, Murph?
Self-induced.
Yeah, mine too.
No, I mean, like, literally, when I dose nitrates, they start spiking.
Oh, really? Okay. So why? I've never really had to like dose nitrates. Are you just doing that so you keep it above zero?
I'm experimenting right now.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I will tell you one thing.
Get up.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ryan.
No, you're good. No, it's a totally different topic, so I don't want to interrupt.
No, I'm trying to get up at least 2 to 5 parts per million. Because I've noticed since I started dosing nitrates, some of my SPS started getting more color.
Gotcha. One thing I did try a long time ago that I will not do again and don't recommend. I mean, if you want to do it. But I did lanthanum chloride, and this was a long time ago. I was at 0.4 phosphates, and I thought that was like a lot, and I needed to worry. So I took it down to 0 from 0.4 in one shot. And I had all sorts of just jacked up, messed up problems that came after that for it being out of balance. So, no bueno.
Is that? I think I was reading something about that. Is that like when you like dilute it with like RODI water or something, and then you put like the dilution in the tank, and it makes the tank cloudy? Is that the same stuff?
This just was like a little eyedropper, and you put it in like drops. And you kind of do math based on drops in gallons and how much you want to lower it.
Gotcha.
And it literally is binds to the molecules of the phosphate, and it makes them big enough to be able to get filter socked out.
Oh, okay.
And it freaking works really, really well.
Like too well.
I was like so excited when I was like, oh my God, this is a miracle medicine cure. Like I got rid of my phosphates. And then all sorts of other crap just started happening that I didn't want.
Oh my gosh. What's up, Claudius? How you doing, bro? Yeah, man.
So if I would say, man, if people are going to use that, you just use it really judiciously.
like one drop at a time.
Yeah, just don't try to get rid of all your phosphates, basically. Make sure you know about the balance and try to keep it in balance with the nitrates. Oh, crap, how do I turn these lights on this rental car? There we go.
Yeah, it's kind of hard sometimes getting everything balanced out.
Yeah, seems like it always seems like once I have, one thing under control, there's always something else that's a little off.
What do you use for phosphates?
Like the removal or just?
Yeah.
So right now I'm using like half the recommended dose of GFO plus. I'm not dosing anything for phosphate removal. I'm just literally, because I run the Triton method, so I'm literally just relying on the refugium, which I think was doing a good job initially, but and this is just all speculation at this point. But so I think what happened was because I got the Chaeto. And it exploded in terms of growth, like crazy amounts of growth. Like, put it in 250 grams. Next week it was 350. Then the next week it was 500. Then the next week it was 650. I mean, it was crazy. So then I took some of it out, and I think at the same time I was adding so many nutrients to the tank. I was going like 3 cubes instead of like 1 every other day. And some days I was doing 4. And some days I was doing 5. And then twice a week I was throwing in a teaspoon of Referoids. And the Chaeto I don't think could grow fast enough at this point. And I think that's when the green hair algae started taking over. And not in the tank though. It was all in the fuge at first. And then I was like, I need to clean out this green hair algae. So then I remove all the green hair algae. I do a water change. But then the green hair algae was on the Chaeto itself. And it started preventing the Chaeto from growing. And it was just like this back and forth. And meantime, I'm removing as much green hair algae that I can, literally scraping it off my fuge. And so it was like, screw you, buddy. I'm going to go find someplace else to grow. And then it just exploded in my display tank. So I think that was the natural progression of everything.
That sounds pretty similar to. This getting rid of all the gunk in the fuge. That sounds similar to what I did too. And I think you're right, man. I think if we had just let that go, it might have helped a little bit.
Yeah.
See, like with my
even if it doesn't look pretty.
Right.
My experience is, dude, you're fine. We're just chilling. I'm just chilling before I go to bed. But my experience is like algae turf scrubbers and macroalgae deplete your nitrates first. And what I've found. So if it sucks up too much nitrates at once, then you're going to have an imbalance with your phosphates.
That makes sense.
That's a good point. And it also made me think of something. So, Hitter, you got all your green hair algae died just recently, right?
Right, yeah.
Have you done a test after it died on nitrates and phosphates?
Yeah. So, what's up, Tyler?
Did it go up?
No, it didn't. Well, so here's the interesting thing. We're talking. Mike asked me about what test I used, and so I used the phosphorus ultra low range, and I tested it yesterday, and I was shocked because it came in at like 33, which I thought it was. I thought that was accurate and it would have been like 0.1, right? But then I tested it again and it was down to like 5, which is like back at 0.02. So I haven't really had any increased phosphates. But again, I was really blasting the refugium with light, and the macro algae has really taken off since.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I was talking to Michael Aaron about this issue, and being that he was saying that once you kill all the algae, you're going to then have the nutrients in your water, not in the algae. Mm-hmm. So you got to do something with that, right? So,
yeah,
I was hoping to come home from vacation, have all this dead algae, run some tests, and be like, I got a lot of nitrates and phosphates. Now let's get rid of them.
Right.
Without green hair algae, but that never really happened, so I didn't get to test it.
So I guess I should also tell you, so I forgot I did this too. So I was also, which the Triton method, you're not supposed to run filter socks, but I was running filter socks while that was happening so that I could try to, if the algae was dying and going in the overflow, I could just take it out. Then I was kind of like wet skimming my skimmer. And then I also, on Sunday was the day that I turned the lights back on. And that afternoon, I also did probably like a 30-gallon water change on the 120. So if there was extra phosphates, that would have cut them down significantly probably from those items.
I gotcha. Do you feel like the wet skimming was a good idea during all this?
It was, well, I think that it was because it was pulling out some really nasty stuff. I mean, it even though I was intentionally wet skimming it, I was still getting the stuff like I wasn't wet skimming it, like the dark, really dark stuff, not like the lighter stuff. So I think it was pulling stuff out, and now it's like I can't hardly pull anything out. So now I'm worried about the opposite end of the stuff. What if
I like your problem more though?
Yeah. Well, until my SPS start bleaching out or something, which is what happened to me because I used all, dry rock. And then I started SPS like 4 months after I started the tank.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've kept mine at a dry skim the entire time, but if you think that worked well for you, I can adjust it. And then the filter sock thing has been inconsistent for me as well, because I can run a filter sock when I'm at home, but if I leave for any period of time, I got to take them off because they'll overflow and do bad things. So I just need some more consistency. I think I need to get home for a period of weeks where I'm not on the road and doing stuff and just knock that crap out.
Yeah. I was also kind of like aggressively changing filter socks too. I was changing them probably while this was all going on and I was in there scrubbing and stuff, I was changing it probably every 24 to 48 hours at the most.
No, that's exactly what I was doing too. When I started doing this hydrogen peroxide this last week, I would change them every 24 hours to try to get any of that algae and stuff out. Plus, it's got to help just removing other detritus and nutrients as well.
Yeah. And that was also my thought pattern, is because what was happening, because I exploded my baffles. I have no bubble trap, and I really have no baffle in between my skimmer and the refugium. Right now, there's just like egg crate. So all that detritus and stuff was just settling in the refugium, and what was growing from that was hair algae. So when I put the filter socks on there, it seemed to work a little bit.
Yeah. I think those are two good tools. It sounds like I could do the wet skimming. I know the filter socks are a good tool if you use them right like that. Change them every day while you're fighting stuff.
Yeah, but now now. Just got to make sure that it's just all about like when you're in this trying to find the balance thing, you know, going from like my first issue was I went from 0 to 300, right? And then I went from 300 back to like 0, but I really need to be at like probably 150. So, you know, now I got to try to figure out how much do I start adding to where I don't get an explosion of phosphates and green hair algae and stuff, but then, you know, my corals are happy and everything else.
Yep.
That's what makes this hobby so great.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the heroine of the hobby right there.
So like you got a dual reactor, right?
No, I just have a single.
Well, either one.
I've got a dual.
Okay. Those
and a single actually.
I run phosphate and phosguard in my frag tank, and I also got a ketomorpha reactor also. So one aspect of it, I believe the ketomorpha reactor is removing more nitrates, and I still have phosphates. I just got to keep an eye on them. But in my dual reactor, just try to start getting the phosphates down, I'd add like maybe half the recommended dosage of Phosguard for my tank, and then change it every couple days, and then start running the GFO heavy when you got your levels down a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Kind of gradually baby steps them down.
What is the difference? I've heard that, and I just thought it was another brand of GFO.
It's kind of the same thing. Really,
but it's not. It's not the iron stuff. It's something. Is it different? Is it a different method, a different element, or something?
Yeah, it's made by Seachem, and it's like white balls, looks like styrofoam balls.
Okay,
but they're little bitty ones. So
yeah,
that's usually how I get mine down. Because they were at 0.1 a few weeks ago, and I was like, man, that's too high for me. So I baby stepped them down with the Phosguard to 0.06, and then I went full blast with the GFO, or half of the recommended on GFO, and got it down to 0.02.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and that brings up a whole nother interesting point that I was kind of struggling with during this process too is, you know, and Ryan, you know, you heard it from Michael Aaron, but the whole dinner plate analogy with the leftover food being the phosphates, right?
Yep.
My concern is, you know, I know that I don't want phosphates to be 0, but in this situation, do I really want them to be 0? Because if it means that it's 0, it may be starving out the green hair algae. So, and then so that's ultimately what led me to the blackout, because I was like, if I have my phosphates at 0 and the green hair algae is starving, how do I know that, you know, what gets eaten first on the plate is basically what ended up, you know, haunting my mind was.
And you have no gauge for 0 at that point. I thought the same thing. I'm like, how do you actually get to 0 if you have a false 0, right?
Yeah. So that's why I said, okay, let me try the blackout, see what happens, and it just so happened to work. But you know, if I would have just kind of day after day, I found myself looking at the lights and being like, okay, are the coral's obviously using the light, the algae's obviously using the light, but what is using it first? And then I have Chaeto trying to grow and other macronutrients. Those are growing when the display tank is off, but not during when the display tank is on. So it just made my head want to explode. So I was like, let me just try this. So I got lucky. But
dude, I'm happy for you. I got to go on mute for a little bit here, but I'll just hang out and come back in a little bit.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. So Murph, how close are you to having the 120 set up?
Pretty far off.
Yeah.
I got 2 more bottom sides to strip the silicone off, and then my plate glass will be here Thursday. So I have Thursday and Friday off. I'll probably have it sealed up and ready for water on Friday.
So did you decide, are you just replacing the whole bottom, or are you just putting a bottom over? I don't. The last time I saw you, you were working on. You obviously had gotten the overflows off, but then you had those 2 holes in the bottom of the tank, and I think you were trying to figure out what you were going to do with them at that point.
So Dave had some 1/2-inch glass. He's sending me 2 pieces, and there's 4 holes there. So he's saving me like $80 or $100 by giving me these 2 pieces of glass.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
So it's just going to be silicone over them holes.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Where do you even? You almost got to like special. Well, you probably have to go to like a glass shop or something to get that thick of glass, because none of the big box stores carry it.
Yeah, I have a local glass shop. They told me they could order it, but it was going to be like $90. And then ordering it online is going to be like $100. So I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, and then Dave was like, "Hey, I got some 1/2-inch glass." I was like, "Oh, really?"
You don't say.
Yeah. So I think he cut me a couple of pieces and shipped them out. So
nice.
Yeah.
I tried, Murph. All I had was that crappy 3/8, man.
Yeah, it's all good, bud. So Hitter, can I hit on the turf scrubbers a little bit here?
Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
What up?
What's up? I made a DIY one, and I don't even know what my phosphates were before I put them in there. Okay, before I put it on, but I had a keto morpho ball like the size of a 5-gallon bucket just spinning in my refugium. And so I think, hold on, I did test it. It was 0.02 before I added this algae turf scrubber. And I made it just a little bit too big because they're rated by how many cubes a day you feed.
Okay.
So like a 4-inch by 3-inch piece of screen will do 1 cube a day.
Gotcha.
And then, so I made this thing like 9 inches by 11.
Yeah.
And I only feed like 1 cube a day. So, in essence, what I did is I went from 0.02, which was fine. I should have never added the algae turf scrubber. I went down to 0.006.
Oh my gosh.
And I couldn't get any, like, I put some trial corals in there for my frag tank, and they all basically just melted away.
Really?
They're not completely dead, but one of my octo spawns lost 5 heads. It's got 1 left.
Oh my gosh.
All my Akins, all the tops of them, all burn off. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
So, wow, I didn't realize that having like super low phosphates like that. So you think that's definitely what it was the phosphates were just so low that it melted everything? Yeah.
Yep. I took that off, and everything's looking a little bit better. Some of the Akin heads are starting to grow back a little bit. I think that's what it was, man.
That's wild.
So there's a fine line between love and hate on phosphates.
Yeah. So that almost leads me to believe that, like, so I probably did have prior to adding more food, I think that I probably did have phosphates in there because like I wasn't having that reaction, but I think that it was like really teetering on the edge of probably wiping out the majority of like my LPS corals too, because my SPS corals were like, they weren't dead, they were just bleached. and my LPS just weren't growing. They weren't really getting, puffy or full or anything. I had like a trichophilia that just wasn't really doing much and was almost kind of like fading out on one side. And then I got the phosphates up, and all of a sudden all the colors came back on the SPS, the ACANs and everything just plumped up. The freaking trichophilia looks like the size of a dinner plate now. I mean, and so, yeah, so that leads me to think then I probably didn't have like that, like as low as what you were talking about, or I would have even been worse off, but they must have been really, really low.
Another thing that you can think about with green hair algae and stuff like that is I'm not sure if I'm going to say this right, but silicates left over from food, you'll see pockets of that. It actually turns into green hair algae. So like on your rock work, once you get this straightened up, like once a week, just get unearth a turkey baster or something and blow your rocks off since you started with dead rock.
That's a great idea. Yeah. Because I've noticed, I mean, there's definitely, because it's the BRS Reef Saver rock, and it really has like, those little crevices where that stuff can really collect.
Oh yeah, that's what I got too. And once my phosphates got down that low, I had cyano everywhere. I mean, it would even glow at night. If you looked at it through a gel filter, it would glow.
That's wild.
So when Rico was here, he's like, dude, you got to blow your rock off. I was like, I didn't even think about that. So I started blowing my rock off, and my cyano starts going away because there's no nutrients for it to grow on and stuff. Basically.
Yeah. I need a new freaking turkey baster, because I have the turkey baster I have has like a super soft like handle, and I can't get any pressure out of it. I need to get just a regular, probably cheap one or something that does better.
You can double press on the one you're talking about. You can double press on it, and it'll max the flow though.
Yeah.
Double press on. What do you mean?
Mine. Like, when you're in there blasting your rocks with your paster, you know how you were just saying that it don't have like, it's real smushy. Just just double squeeze. I don't know, double squeeze. And it'll throw a little more thrust though. That's what I was doing with mine. And then you remember earlier today I was showing you the video on my rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then John told me about, hey, use your paster, you got to blow that off and whatnot. And I was like, okay. So, we were on the live feed, and behind the scenes, I'm sitting here taking this my toothbrush, and the one I have a soft bristle one for my tank, and I'm just scrubbing a little bit on the rocks, and I'm just pasting away that all off of there. But is that the green hair algae you're showing on your back screen?
So I'm not really sure what is going on with my. I think my thing is frozen, actually. That's behind me, because all the lights should be off right now. So let me see why that's happening. Yeah, all my lights are off, so that's frozen. So
it does look pretty wild, Ryan. You should just leave it there, dude.
Let me see. So that's the way that it should look. But here we go. Hold on. I got it. Yeah. Now I'm just in the abyss.
Just Hitter's head floating in the corner.
Yeah.
But hey, Murph.
Yeah.
How I'm 101. How how does that go about with the phosphates? How would you? I mean, how do you lower them, or how do they even get messed with?
Basically, food, introduction to food.
Okay.
I could go into great depths and lengths with your tank being carbon limited and your nitrates not getting enough food, and I could go through all that, but you may not understand all of it if you know what I'm saying, because
Yeah.
it's a long process, and I don't want to confuse anybody or have anybody do something without really knowing what they're doing. But so, like I was saying earlier, if you have high phosphorus, well, you asked me how they got there. Usually, it's through food, honestly. Overfeeding, or you have a bacterial imbalance in your tank. Could be nitrifying bacteria. Could have an imbalance.
That was like the earlier stream. I was just telling Hitter, we were talking about this, where I had just went through like a full drastic, all the way stripped my tank down, dipped my rocks into fresh water, scrubbed them, everything, last week, and that was only because I don't know what that green stuff was, because it wasn't hair out. It just busted through my tank, and I took the drastic measure of doing that. But anyway, fast forwarding, now I got this brown copper kind of looking color. You saw it, right, Hitter?
I'm sorry. I can't do two things at once, and I was typing, so I didn't hear like anything what you just said.
Anyway, okay, so I checked today. Like when I was on the live stream, I actually had checked. I tested everything: salinity, alkalinity, nitrate, nitrite. I mean everything, and everything was to the T. Good, excellent. Everything was good. So my question was, well, why would I have that in my tank?
So you get it.
I'm pretty sure you'll be able to show you.
I can't hardly hear you, bud.
Yeah, if you faded out.
So, like I was telling Hitter, I don't know if you blow your rocks off, because there's usually like pockets of silicate where stuff grows on them, and I don't know if you have bryopsis or if you have a turf algae, or if it's green hair algae. There's 3 different ones, the main ones that I know, and then there's green algae that it's basically green coralline algae. I don't know if it was hairy or what, but
No,
the stuff he was showing us earlier, to me it looked like a very light covering of a diatom bloom on his rocks. I'm not sure if that's the same stuff that he's talking about he had before, but I know that's when I told him to go ahead and hit it with the toothbrush and to go ahead and hit it with the turkey baster.
I mean, if you remember the way it looked earlier, it was a little bit darker.
Yeah.
So I figure what I'm gonna do is little, but very, very fast. So I'm gonna start scrubbing a whole lot harder and and blowing that off. But yeah, what I had before was like a green sludge. I mean, it was not even. I mean, I didn't want to show my tank for
that
nothing.
Just sounds like regular green algae.
Just regular green algae.
Yeah.
It was on your rocks, or was it on your glass?
Oh, it was on the rocks, on the glass, on the coral. I mean, if it could bite my hand, it would have.
So, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You say your nitrates and phosphates were to a T, but what's to a T to you?
Oh, let's see here.
Because I'm coming to a conclusion, but I need to know what your phosphate numbers and nitrate numbers
right here. Where was everything?
Can you see it?
Huh?
Can you see it?
And the numbers, like,
is your nitrates are,
well,
I would say 50 to 60.
My nitrates were 50. I want to say 50 to 60.
Okay.
Nice.
It's just a guesstimate.
Yeah, guesstimate. Nitrites were,
and going.
I'd say 3.0, 3.4.
Okay.
Salinity was about 210 to 20.
Alkalinity was about 210, 220.
And the salt was in between 7.5 and 8.5.
7.5 and 8.5.
And so I'd say maybe like an 8.
About an 8.
What was that? Sorry.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you sure your alkalinity wasn't? You said your salt was a 7 to an 8.
I would say 8.
Your water is 8, like 8.
Like 1. Well, testing it, I'm at 1. I'm testing it on my hydrometer. I'm 1, 2. Hey, y'all two shut up for real. Sorry. Hold on, guys. Let me mute. Hold on.
Somebody wants some attention.
Yeah.
It sounds like. Well, first of all, it sounds like his nitrates are kind of high, right? But then the other numbers don't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think he has a couple of his numbers mixed up. I think they're saying one versus the other, but I think their numbers are right. They're just calling one for the other, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I would love to have my nitrates high.
Bruh, I will
Sorry
send
about
you
that, guys.
I will send you some of this water. You can totally have some high nitrates. What's up?
Yeah, Murph, I got about 12. You can have half of them.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. Because Worldwide Corals runs theirs at 50, so.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Wow. How do they get them that high?
Well, they probably add something to it, but
Well, not just that high. How do they get them that high and keep them that stable?
just dosing. Probably dosing nitrates.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, 12 nitrates isn't high. I would actually like to be between 3 and 12 would be a good number for me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I know my 12's not high. I was being a little punky.
Yeah. I don't know where mine are exactly. I haven't bought the kit yet.
So there's a Redfield. It's called Redfield ratio on phosphate to nitrates. So I can't remember. I don't even know what the conversion on it is, but it's like 16 to 1 or 17 to 1. So like your
16 to 1, 106 to 16 to 1.
Yeah, that's what it is. So I would assume your nitrates would be 16 parts more than your phosphates. Would be a balanced system by Redfield ratio.
Well, actually, now it says that it's been modified to 14 to 1.
Okay.
I don't know. So anyway, so if you're trying to keep your phosphates at like 0.04, gosh, my keyboard is still messed up from shotgunning a spear.
What's up, Phil?
Bro, you need to get you a new keyboard, man.
No.
You soak it? You got beer on it?
Yeah. Yeah, my number pad is all jacked up, but everything else works okay.
Yeah.
0.04 times 14. So it's saying like your nitrate should be 0.56. Is that right?
0.56. I don't know how the conversion goes, but that's
Yeah.
something that you should look into.
Oh, it's not. It's phosphorus. It's not. It's not phosphate. It's phosphorus.
Okay.
So if you have like 0.04 would be like what 6 phosphorus
Yeah.
times 14. So it's saying that the red field would be like 84 nitrates.
Is it no? That would be 0.06 would be it would be tenths parts per million, right?
Well,
So
hold on. Let's see. What
Yeah,
are you gonna do?
What unit is it in?
parts per million. Well, I don't know what the red field ratio is, but if you're going,
I'm asking, like, Hitter, what are you reading? Does it have a unit of measure on it?
Says the atomic ratio of it just says carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus, but it doesn't say. Hold on.
So what I would assume at this mean would be like 16 to 1. So like if your phosphates were at 0.04 to 0.06, you would want your nitrates to be 16 times higher than that to balance, is what I'm assuming.
Yes, and we need to, if it's talking about phosphorus or phosphates, and then we just need to do the math correctly to do the parts per billion to parts per million.
Right. Yeah.
And then it should be pretty easy to find out.
Phil's got perfect nitrates. His are 5 to 8. That's pretty good.
Nice, Phil. I missed my tank.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the road this week, and I miss seeing it. The webcam doesn't do enough.
Yeah, so like keeping your phosphates where you want them is kind of a tricky subject, because if you're feeding reefroids or if you're overfeeding more than 1 or 2 cubes a week, some tanks just have more phosphates than others, I think, in my opinion. But like I feed like maybe a quarter of a cube in my frag tank, and I feed reefroids. So I usually, I got to keep an eye on them and dose for them or take them out, strip them out.
Yeah, then again, I can't do this. I can't do this math right now. I'm too tired. I'm gonna have to look at this, but I think because there's Randy Holmes Farley put a calculation in here, but
just read me the ratio, Hitter. What is it? Which one are you working with? Is it? You said it's 14 to 1.
Yeah, but it doesn't say what the measurement is, if it's parts per billion or parts per million.
Well, we just keep it consistent. It just as long as we make them equal when we do the ratio.
So it says it's 14 to 1. So 1.
Okay.
So so say you had like on a phosphorus kit, right? Like 6 is what, 0.03 or something.
Well, if you're doing phosphorus, you don't want to convert it to phosphate necessarily. If this ratio is for phosphorus, what we want to do is just divide by 1,000 basically to get parts per million. So you're looking at 0.006, and then you multiply that by 14.
Yeah, which would be 0.86, almost 1.
So your nitrates would need to be really low to be in the ratio for that. If you are assuming that we're moving that just to phosphorus at parts per million.
Right.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
Yeah. But then there's something when you go into dosing nitrates, if you need to dose nitrates, whereas if you're dosing and 24 hours later you don't have any nitrates, your system is considered carbon limited, which there's not enough carbon source to have excess nitrates. It's a whole ball of wax, man. Seriously, there's so much to it.
It's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Yep.
That's the senior level reefing course.
It's 201.
Yeah. No, it's 401. That's 401.
Oh, shit. I'm not ready for that. I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
I was thinking that was like doctorate level PhD status.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, stability, right? Stability is what everybody preaches is always key.
Right.
So it's, you know, and the problem becomes because a lot of these corals and behind me is what my tank looked like a week ago, by the way. I just have it running on a loop. So yeah, I went from that to what you guys saw earlier in roughly a week. But
it's funny. That looks kind of like the ocean. It's like, we don't want our tanks to look like the ocean.
Right, yeah. No, it can't. It has to be pristine. We need the ocean pre dinosaur, which was probably just all algae or something.
Yeah, primordial ooze.
Yeah, high nitrates inhibits calcification. I'm very interested to see what BRS finds out about their alkalinity tests they're doing.
What's that? I didn't hear nothing about it. I ain't even been watching.
Or not alkalinity, pH. So they're trying to determine whether or not you get higher calcification of corals at a pH of 8.3 to 8.4 than you do at 8.0.
So basically just trying to test the better, like faster growth with higher alkalinity?
Higher, yeah, higher pH, which ultimately I guess would mean higher alkalinity as well.
Higher saturation of everything.
Yeah.
Basically.
I need to calibrate my probes. I was looking at my Apex today, and it's like I've got 2 pH probes in the same place, and they both have different readings even when I calibrate them at the same time because they're different brands at different times. And one of them is like starting to read like 8.41. I'm like, how in the heck did I get that high?
Yeah. Well, don't hold on. My salinity probe currently says it's 78.
The Dead Sea.
Yeah. Which I'm trying to figure out. Okay, do you know how many? This has been an ongoing issue ever since I've had this. Do you have any idea how many times I've tried to calculate or calibrate the stupid salinity probe? I screwed up when I first got the Apex, and I put it in the solution before I took the base reading. So that screwed it all up. Then when I got the new Apex like a couple weeks ago, I did the exact same thing, and it was all screwed up again. So I tried this thing. I dried it out, and then the salinity solution wasn't the same temperature as the water, so that screwed it up. So I just I got one more packet, and I'm just like, you know what? If 78 is where it's supposed to be, screw it. I'm just gonna say that 78 is if it measures up with my refractometer, then that's the 35 parts per thousand.
I've heard a lot of people have trouble with the salinity probes, and they're being real fickle. I've never had one. I have the old Apex, and it didn't come with it, so I didn't buy that module.
Yeah.
You had me curious, so I went ahead and pulled out my refractometer to see what 78 would be as far as the other side. Like one's part per thousand. I don't know what the other one is, the 1.25 or 1.025, whatever.
Yeah.
Like 78.
Specific gravity.
Yeah,
Specific
there
gravity.
you go. Specific gravity. I always forget that. But anyway, 78 is like 1.056.
Yeah,
So,
so right
Dead
where it
sea.
needs to be.
Dead Sea for sure. Like
The
that is
bottom of my
high.
tank just melted because the salinity was so high.
If your rocks start floating on top of the water, you'll know.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. And a lot of people, basically what I've found through what limited research that I've actually done is when you calculate the salinity probe, there cannot be any air bubbles in it. So what happens is when you put the salinity probe into the solution, it's going from air into solution. So there's air bubbles trapped in it. What you need to do is get a probe store or whatever, and fill it up halfway, then put it in there, close it up, and then turn it upside down, get all the air bubbles out, then test it. That's the best way to do it. So I just don't have that at the moment. But I got one more packet and it's getting one more shot. So I'm gonna get the holder, and if it comes out saying 78, guess what? That's what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
I just got one of the pinpoint pH monitor. Or no, you're talking about salinity. All right, never mind.
I got that pinpoint makes a salinity too. I got a salinity one for the for my mixing station, which honestly, that thing is spot on. I've never had any issue with that. So
yeah.
Phil.
Speaking of Phil, did Phil ever figure out the learning curve with that salinity checker that he got? I think it was Ice Cap.
Oh, new salinity gadget, huh?
Yeah, he showed it off in the stream a couple weeks ago, maybe a week ago or so, something like that.
Oh, cool.
Oh yeah.
It was measuring like three different readings, three different ways of testing.
I don't know if Phil's seen the Premium Aquatics video they did on that. I was going to mention that to him. Premium Aquatics has Mad Hatter's Reef showing how to use it and putting the cup on it too. I didn't know if you've seen it. Just putting that out there.
Lisa, I saw your message in the chat about Fritz RPM. It's coincidence you say that. I've used Instant Ocean for freaking ever since I can remember. And I'm actually thinking about getting a box of Fritz because I need to buy some salt. Just because it seems like they have their parameters right where I like to run them. And Instant Ocean's great, but I have to boost it up a little bit to get it there. And I just kind of want it to be easier. So
I have seriously been thinking about switching to Red Sea, not the Pro Salt, but the other one. It's got the lower levels, just for my frag tank.
Yeah, I like the lower level stuff.
Yeah,
you can always go up. It's really hard to go down.
What's the price on the buckets of those?
I think the last time I looked, I want to say it was $59 for an 80-gallon bucket. They got those weird sized buckets.
80 gallons? Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. It was it wasn't a 5-gallon bucket. It was like a 2.5-gallon bucket, or maybe a 3-gallon bucket. It was itty bitty.
So in essence, you're paying $120 for a 200-gallon bucket.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much. Well, the only reason why I was thinking of switching to it is, I mean, I don't know. I wanna change, but I don't know what I want to change other than my habits, obviously. But I don't know. I have this weird thing in my tank. Like I don't use a lot of calcium. I don't use any magnesium, but my alkalinity is constantly going down, and I don't understand it.
Your alkalinity?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're just consuming alkalinity.
Well, I don't have a whole lot of corals in there now, except for what I just got from pipes over the weekend.
But how often do you do water changes?
Every week. Every week we do at least a 2-gallon water change.
On how big of a tank?
It's a little 10-gallon. That's another thing too. That's why I'm wanting to get DC's tanks for a frag tank.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 versus 25.
I wouldn't think it would be using that much either, but
that's what I was thinking. Like it had me thrown. Like
it's possible.
Yeah. I mean, it was even to the point to where about a month ago, I took some. I didn't like my readings, and I tested twice, and I got 2 different results for everything. So I was like, screw this. I told the old lady to get dressed. We went to. I've got 2 LFSs. One is like coral only. Like I only go to him for coral. Like he's like the guru. Anyway, I went to him and I'm like, look, dude, test my water and tell me what you think. He's like, I think you need to get this 5-gallon jug of seawater right here. And I forget the brand of it, but he said that'll get you right where you want to be. Well, for 2.5, 3 weeks or so, my numbers were right where I wanted them, and then just took a sudden left-hand turn to what the hell's going on here. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's got me irritated because like the tank's so small, I can't really dose. I mean, I can, but I can't. It's real easy to mess it up though. If you get a little bit more than that, that 0.5 ml in there, you know what I mean? Like I need to have a bigger tank is all there is to it.
I've been I just switched from HW Marine Mix to Instant Ocean Reef Crystals for Triton.
Right.
Even though in one of my videos I specifically said I wouldn't recommend using salt that has trace elements in it because there's so many trace elements in the Triton stuff to begin with. Although I can't seem to find anything about the specific trace elements that is in each bottle. It's like they're trying to keep it a freaking secret, or maybe there's just not anything in there. So, but what I've been doing is Instant Ocean has a higher DKH than what I run at. I run at like 8 to 8.5, somewhere in there. And so whenever I put it in there, it always increases it to like 9 or 9.1 or something.
Right. But that's like the first couple of days though, right?
Right. But then I watch it go down, and that's how that's how I figure out, okay, because with Triton, you're supposed to dose based off of your alkalinity, which I mean, I guess you can make the argument that almost anything could really be like that, because if your alkalinity is in check, your other 2 things should be in check or relatively close anyway. But so as it's dropping, I'm noticing that I'm not dosing enough Triton, because if I was, it wouldn't move from that number. It should stay there. So,
well, see, and that's the problem you're having with reef crystals. That's pretty much the same problem I'm having with the regular Instant Ocean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but one of the things I did do a while back, which I stopped doing because I got the Red Sea ABC Pro Kit. I was using this stuff. It's Reef Accelerator, but the main reason why I got it is because it is all the trace elements in one bottle, and it's just simple as 5 milliliters for every 10 gallons you have. And when I was using that, my numbers were staying more balanced. Like they weren't dropping off as far, they weren't as far apart as they are now. They were everything was being consumed the same. So I don't know.
John, could I recommend one thing for you to try?
Yeah, man.
Cap Watcher.
Man, dude, I'm telling you, like that's my next ticket, but I want to wait until I get that bigger tank, or until I'm gonna do something. I've got that Sump Off Billy. I've got my 20 gallon that was supposed to be my nano, but it's not. I want more water volume, so that way, you know, if I do make a little mistake, it's not going to be as detrimental.
Well, here's the thing: you can make up like a whole gallon of calc, okay?
Right.
And then just put so many drops in a day and see what it takes to get you there. Like get a dropper or a mill syringe,
right?
And see what it takes to get you there out of that 1 gallon.
Right. True.
It's going to mix consistently if you mix the same every time on your calc.
Right.
Even on a small tank. I mean, I even ran it for a long time. My corals, honestly, never looked better than when I was using calc.
Right.
They say,
I have a mixture of calculator and 2-part on different tanks, and man, the calculator is so much easier.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It really is.
It's kind of just like set it and forget it.
What does it have? I mean, obviously, I know that it increases the pH, but what else does it have in it other than just? I'm assuming it has an alkalinity booster in it. Does it do anything for magnesium or?
Doesn't it balance your calcium alkalinity? That's okay. There you go.
What is it? I'm sorry.
That's alkalinity and calcium.
Yeah, where most of the 2-part is calcium carbonate, like calcium carbonate. For the calcium part, this is calcium hydroxide. So.
And then if you go to 2-part, it's calcium chloride.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, go ahead.
I heard that. No, it's not good. I heard that. Yeah, a lot of people, you know, if they're starting a tank out, if they use Kalkwasser, they can end up using that for a while before they actually have to switch over to 2-part.
Absolutely, yeah.
I used it for years, man. In my I had an old reef tank that I took a break from the hobby for, I don't know, 6-7 years, and back then, my last reef tank before this one, yeah, that's all I ran, and it was really, really nice.
Yeah, I'm not a big hater on it. I love that stuff, really, but
just be careful with it. Like, don't breathe in the fumes and stuff.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that before too. Well, let me ask you this: is Kalkwasser the one that's it's pretty much the same thing as what do they call that? Soda ash?
No, it's
or is that the one for 2-part?
Pickling lime.
Soda ash is alkalinity for 2-part.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Soda ash is just baking powder that's been
it's been cooked off. Yeah. Well, the only reason why I know what soda ash is, I make tie-dye t-shirts, and it changes the pH for water, which if you have a high enough pH, it makes the dye stick. So
science.
Exactly. I'm a nerd, guys. Like if it's something cool, I'm usually into it.
So
I think you gotta be in this hobby. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
The one side effect I've seen from using calc, they say everything gets consumed at the same rate if your system's balanced. Well, that's the whole thing about aquariums. They're not balanced. We try to make them balanced, but most of the time they're not, unless you got a huge tank. So everything I've noticed with calc is my calcium's always higher. Like when I would keep my alkalinity stable at like 9 or 9.5, my calcium would be like 580.
Wow.
Which there's no ill side effects of that whatsoever. Or none that I've seen.
Was that balance thrown off your magnesium at all?
No.
Okay. Huh.
I was in 33 gallon system. I was consuming 1 ounce of magnesium a week when I had my Kalkwasser.
See, and that's the thing that's got me confused, because everything I've read online, everything everybody's told me, calcium and magnesium are usually consumed at the same time, and alkalinity is the buffer between the two, right?
Magnesium's the buffer between alkalinity and calcium.
All right, well maybe I said that wrong, but I just don't understand why my magnesium stays as high as it does.
What's high?
It's like 1580.
Yeah, that's pretty high.
Yeah. And I don't dose it. That's just what's coming out of the bucket. Well, that's not what's coming out of the bucket. That's, I don't know. I guess it is what's coming out of the bucket. I don't know. Like I said, I don't dose it.
Yeah. What else do you use? Anything?
No, the only thing I use is the Coral Pro ABC kit. That's it.
That's probably where you're getting it from, right there.
But I don't. I've never opened the magnesium bottle. It's still brand new in the box. I've never opened it.
But there could be dosed. Is there any other forms of magnesium in there though?
No, not unless it's come out of the. It's either come out of the salt bucket, or it's in something else that's in my and there's nothing else that it could be. Like I said, because the only thing I dose is calcium, and I've only had to dose calcium twice, and I've dosed alkalinity once. That's it.
So, okay. I started out on Brightwell's Neomarine salt. I used that. I used Red Sea Pro. I tried HW. And now I'm on Fritz. And I like Fritz best out of all of them, honestly, and it's cheaper. So.
All right, well, let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. What do you keep your salinity at?
1.025 to 1.026 on specific gravity.
All right, I keep mine 2627. When you mix a fresh bucket, have you ever tested a fresh bucket of Fritz?
I did not too long ago. I can't remember the numbers. They were close to, I think the alkalinity was like around 9 or 9.5. I can't remember. I didn't test the calcium.
Right.
Magnesium was like 1450 or 1480.
All right. Well, I may just switch to Fritz then. I just have to find a place local to get it, or I'm just gonna have to order it offline. But
yeah, I ordered mine. I can't remember where I got it from. Premium Aquatics, maybe, I can't remember, or bulk supply.
Right. I keep saying I'm gonna test a bucket, or not a bucket, but yeah, test a 5-gallon bucket of fresh mix after I've mixed it, just to see what it is out of the bucket. I've never done that. I keep saying I'm going to, but I don't.
Yeah. Murph, do you get the Pro?
The Fritz RPM.
Yeah. Reef Pro Mix. Okay.
It's like $52 a box.
Saltwater Aquarium has it, but they got it at 64. So.
Yeah, where do you get it $10 cheaper? That's great.
Maybe it was bulk resupply, and I'm not sure where I got it from.
Oh,
premium. Let me look.
My dude had a coupon and forgot.
Nah. Let me see. But yeah, okay. So everybody likes Red Sea Pro because it mixes clean. Right. As does HW. It mixes really fast. Fritz mixes as fast as both of those, honestly. But the thing about Red Sea salt is you're supposed to not mix it any longer than 4 hours.
Right.
Premium Aquatics. Let me see if that's where I got it from. I think it is.
Premium Aquatics has it for $63.99. I was looking it up as we were talking about it.
The Fritz?
Uh-huh.
Where the fuck did I get it from? Sorry.
That's all good.
I know I got it for wherever it was. I got it for 50. Maybe it's 53. It was like $1 more than Instant Ocean Earth Crystals.
Yeah, it seems like you said something about that like about a month ago or so, maybe a little longer. You just bought a box or something.
Yeah, I really like it. My when I'm dosing, it doesn't mess up my dosing regimens or anything.
Right. All right, so 14 pounds makes 53 gallons for $30, where you get 55 pounds for 200 gallons for 63.
Yeah, I saw that 63.
So they've got a 180 gallon and a 5-gallon bucket for 70. So it's 20 gallons less, $7 more for a bucket versus a box.
Does anyone know if you buy that box, the big box, the 200 gallon, if it comes in separate bags or is it one big bag?
It's actually separate bags. It says here that this SKU is for a box with one bag containing all the salt. We also sell the SKU that has 4 individual bags inside. Yeah. Yeah, Fritz.
I wasn't sure on that.
Yeah,
I was told that it was 4 50-pound bags.
No,
I think you pay more for that one, but it's probably worth it.
Yeah, probably.
4 50-gallon bags. I'm sorry, I misspoke.
All right, you guys are gonna drive me nuts because I don't know where I got that shit from now.
So, yeah, I need to.
I got an idea for you, Murph. Check your credit card statement or debit card, whichever one you used.
I don't remember when I bought it. It could have been on sale at bulk resupply or something too.
They do a lot of the 10% off.
You know
I think it was.
Though? I don't think I really don't think they carry Fritz stuff anymore.
Though, it had to have been Premium Aquatics.
Or if they ever did.
Because I've been doing business with them because they're right here close to me, so it gets here faster.
That's nice. I just buy Instant Ocean off Amazon. Takes like a week to get here instead of like next day, but
wow,
dude, I get like 45. It's like $45 for the box.
I get Instant Ocean at PetSmart when it's on the half off sale, and they do it 4, 5, 6 times a year.
PetSmart?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have the big boxes?
They got the big bucket. It's the 5-gallon bucket. I think it's 220 gallons, 240 gallons, something like that.
It's 160.
But,
it's
there you go. There you go. Yeah. There you go. You're right. But normally it's like, I want to say it's like 59. And I want to say after tax it's like 26.
Holy crap!
Wow.
So
that's a good.
What's the difference in the Premium Aquatics? They got one that's got 4 bags, and then they got one that's got 1 bag.
So
I think that's the difference. It's just the bags.
I really think it's just the bags, but in my opinion, so I've done both, man. I did try one box of that live Aquarius salt, and it came in 1 bag, and that pissed me off because the 50-gallon bags is so easy to work with, and it's easy to mix. You just turn it upside down a couple times, and you can then like cut it open and dump it in a bucket and keep a bucket going, right? Like one of those 160-gallon buckets or whatever, 5-gallon bucket. And then just add new bags whenever you want. That big bag, nightmare.
Yeah.
Because I'm willing to bet that big bag.
Came.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying that's the way HW came. It was in 1 giant bag.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say that.
If you're willing to like take it out and like segregate it into 2 airtight buckets from old salt containers and mix it, like you can save $10 if you're willing to do that work, I guess.
Maybe it was $63 that I paid. I thought it was $53.
Do you remember it coming in a 1 bag or 4 bags?
Mine came in 1 big bag.
Yeah.
What was that new salt that Dev was talking about from Fritz? It was in a red box.
I think it just raises the alkalinity.
Oh, okay.
I'm debating whether or not after this box of reef crystals, going back to or just going to regular Instant Ocean instead of reef crystals, or maybe does Fritz make a like a salt that doesn't have potassium and strontium in it?
I doubt it. I don't see one.
I doubt it. Yeah. Ryan, I'm all in on Instant Ocean. Like, I got no beef with it.
That had to be it. It's $62.99 for reef crystals, and it's $63.99 for the Fritz. So that had to be. I had to pay $63 for it. That's probably what it was.
Gotcha.
But don't forget, man. I also still have hair algae.
So,
What about the?
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what about using hydrogen peroxide with the syringe?
Yeah, I'm working on that actually. I've been doing that.
I've seen videos, but I've never tried it myself. I mean, I still have a small hair algae problem myself. But mine's still there because I'm lazy.
Yeah, I don't think there's any problem with it. I've done it like at least 6 or 7 times now, and I've done a lot more than is recommended. Like,
right?
Because I've just been using that 3% drugstore hydrogen peroxide, and nothing bad has happened.
So this is something else that I've thought about. An interesting thing that I'd like you guys to weigh in on. So you know how they make like the quick cycling stuff, Spira, whatever, Tom's, whatever.
Yes.
Yep.
So
Dr. Tim's,
Dr.
ATM
Tim's
colony, man. There's a ton of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It's everywhere. So bacteria in a bottle, basically.
Yep.
So
but the start kind, the cycle kind.
Yeah, the cycle kind. So what if, and so what that is doing, right, is it's taking ammonia.
No.
And turning it into, no, it's not eating the ammonia.
Well, I thought you were saying it's taking ammonia and putting it in the tank. That's what I was just saying. That's not what's in the bottle. No.
The bacteria eats the ammonia, turns it into nitrates or nitrites, and turns it into nitrates.
Yep.
Yeah, eventually. Yep. So then, is there some way, like, say you were having, I don't know, high nitrates or something? No.
Theoretically, if you dosed a little bit of Dr. Tim's, it would knock your nitrates down a couple notches.
Yeah. Like, well, what if you added like a block of like Marine Pure, right?
So
and then you dumped a bottle in there.
So I actually did that just this week. Actually, I actually just did it on Sunday.
Oh, really?
I put
it would theoretically seed it.
Marine Pure in my stump in an area where all the water flows by, and it fits perfectly. I mean, it's an awesome fit. And then I just dumped in some Fritz 9 to seed that block. We'll see what happens.
You guys want to hear something really crazy? I'm the guy that likes Dr. Tim's so much, and because I got so much of it for free, the last couple times I've had some crazy issues where like my eels are breathing heavy and I can't figure out why. I do a 50% water change, but I added the Dr. Tim's immediately, like straight to the water change bucket. Just to make sure that, you know, if I'm doing that large of a water change, I'm not doing a mini cycle.
So, Hitter, see if you can relate to this. You're asking about the bacteria in a bottle, and theoretically, if you put it in there, it should eat the nitrates. But what if there's no carbon source for the bacteria to grow on in the first place? Maybe that's why you got high nitrates in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So you could just basically, if there's not the carbon source, that bacteria was just going to die.
Yeah, basically. Or not be sustained in large numbers.
And like, I've also heard it's really easy to skim it out. Like this bacteria I added on Sunday, it recommended you turn your skimmer off for 4 days. And I just didn't do that. So I don't know. I just let it rip.
Yeah. There's so many different sides to the same coin, you know? It seems
Woken says that's when you get biopellets, but I mean, man, that can strip a tank bad.
Yeah, I don't know about using biopellets. I've heard too many horror stories to even want to try it.
It's a carbon source, but
true.
So when I started with my tanks, I bought into the whole concept of lower the numbers better, right?
Right.
And I actually went out and bought the hype of biopellets. And I bought a biopellet reactor and biopellets, and so like for the first whole year I had this frag tank up, everything looked like shit because there was nothing in the tank for it to feed on. So once I got rid of the biopellet reactor, I actually started seeing growth in my LPS and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, Murphy, I did something similar. I actually have experience with biopellet reactor as well. I got one kind of when it was all the hype and the fad back in like 2013 when they were all the rage. And I had it going. I thought, want the lowest of everything I possibly can, just like you. And I ran it, but it worked. But I could never get it to work great or to get the flow to be perfect coming out of it. So it would always like make that nasty snot and clog up. And then if I didn't notice it, it would go toxic and go completely sulfur, and then like if I get that much, it just was so much trouble that I just gave up on it.
See, and those are the reasons why I don't want to use it. It's going to strip my tank, or it's going to, pollute the shit out of my tank.
But it's only good. But you can use it correctly.
Well, yeah, right.
Achieve results. It just, for me, it was too hard. And I had what was supposed to be a really nice reactor that was supposed to be easy to work with.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I just didn't like it.
I think where biopellets actually have a place is if you're doing a super large tank, like anywhere between 105 gallon tank, and you're going bare bottom. There's no sand in it. There's not enough surface for bacteria to live. Stuff like that. That's where I've seen them do the best. So
each and every time I started it, and I put it on a pretty big tank. It was like 210 display with some extra volume for the sump and stuff, but it was every time I started it up, and I tried it a couple of different times, it would do that initial bloom and completely cloud the water after about a week.
Yeah.
But you knew it was working, and then that would go away, and so you just knew it had kicked in and started working. But I couldn't tune it correctly to prevent it from clogging. Now in hindsight, maybe more flow would have been the answer all along. But the thought process is the slower the flow, the better the denitrification, right?
Yeah. Well, so the sludge would have been your biopellets breaking down from being eaten by the bacteria.
Right. So, and I heard, turn the flow up, get it out, put it in, you put that in your skimmer intake, which my skimmer has like a little thing. You can put it right into the pump.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's big. Yeah, there's a lot to it.
If anybody wants to try a biopellet reactor, I have one that was custom made for me that's got my name on the serial number. I will make me an offer. It's really nice.
just turn it into a ketomorpha reactor like I did.
There you go.
Yeah. I thought about doing that. I actually might, just for fun.
That would be hilarious. Yeah. Oh man. All right, guys. Well, hey, I hate to do this, but I gotta go. The wife is needing my body as her pillow.
Nice.
Yeah. That's all. That's pretty much what I'm reduced to these days.
Yeah. You better go love on your pregnant wife while she's carrying your son.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Good talk. Enjoyed it.
Hey, guys. Great talk. Thanks so much for coming in. I really enjoyed it.
Yes, sir. Same, guys.
All right, man. Good. Catch y'all later.
Later. Bye.